So beyond duplicating myself as a researcher, we also have AI presenting itself as an analytical tool. So being able to do a whole range of tasks, from translation through to actually analyzing data, grouping the data into themes and categories, insights, and implications. And I've been hearing that ChatGPT is being used extensively by some people and some organizations to do this type of analysis work. Let's talk about ChatGPT. What are you doing with it?
The use that we're getting out of ChatGPT, Nick, are the most useful. And look, and here's the thing, with all of this AI and the technology, it will only be used and it will only be taken up readily if it's of use to us, right? Like I said, we dropped pen and paper fieldwork literally overnight to go to online fieldwork because that was the answer to all of the quantitative researchers' woes at the time, was fieldwork. So basically just created a fieldwork haven, right? So is it how useful is it? Now, in terms of using ChatGPT to start to write a discussion guide and all of what I call that design type conceptual work, I think it probably has some limited use in the sense that an experienced researcher can write a discussion guide much, much faster than someone can using ChatGPT. By the time they get it to generate the guide and then do it, this and that, an experienced researcher has already written the guide, right? So from a time efficiency point of view, an experienced qualitative researcher sees very little benefit unless they're that busy, right? And most people work with other people and have colleagues. So, it has very little benefit in that. Where the benefits do lie and where we've seen them is when you have, for example, hundreds and hundreds of qualitative responses, like we have collected recently in a tracking study that we've been doing. And we've collected hundreds of qualitative responses, not just 20. 20 is easy. We can read through 20 responses. We can categorize 20 responses ourselves, right? That's what qual is. You take transcripts, you take your notes, you use those. You've done 20 depth interviews, you've done 4-6 groups, whatever. You can keep those in your head more or less and analyze it in a sense just through your own intuition and abilities as a researcher. However, you try doing that with 500 short conversations about something, right? About a topic or about a product or a brand, forget it. You cannot do it. You can't synthesize it. So we've been taking many responses, putting them into ChatGPT and asking it to do exactly what you've just said, is look through this data and only this data. Don't look at any other data. We don't care what's out there on the internet. Just look at the data we have fed you, our single source verbatim data, and categorize it for us into the major themes. And sometimes we say, I don't know, look for 7, look for 4, look for 8. It doesn't matter. It'll spit you back something. And then you look at the 8 categories it's given you and say, right, these 2 are the same and this one's forget it. You know what I mean? So you end up with 6 anyway. But what are the implications of this, Nick? The implications of this is that we no longer need what used to be called a research assistant. A research assistant used to go out, get data, analyze it, go through the transcripts, come back, do all of that stuff. Right? This now just kind of does it for you, and it does it very quickly, and it does it accurately, and you have your summary there. And that, Nick, that's what we've been using ChatGPT for. It is hand on heart, and scary as it is for all of us to admit this, right? Because it is scary for everyone to admit it. Hand on heart, it does an absolutely fantastic job of identifying the themes that people are talking about inside open-ended mass amounts of information. It does a very good job. It does it accurately. And Nick, I don't know, this bias stuff that you spoke about at the beginning, the political biases of ChatGPT. If you're having a political conversation with ChatGPT, I don't know, maybe it does have some inherent biases. I don't know. But the thing is, I couldn't care less about having a political conversation with ChatGPT. ChatGPT doesn't have any experience. It just has data, right? So However, when you give it data that you want to analyze, and a lot of it, because you can't possibly analyze it yourself, it does a brilliant job of categorizing that data for you, making sense of it, it does a brilliant job at creating order out of the chaos that we feed it. Unquestionably does a really, really good job at that, right? So it has major implications for us in terms of the way that we analyze our information, right? And of course, we've already spoken about the major implications in the way that we collect our information, but we're talking analysis now, and we're talking only ChatGPT, right? So yeah, from that point of view, it is now, I would imagine, and people are using it for all kinds of things. Yes, they're using it for all kinds of things, but we're talking research now, and as a researcher, that's its main use. Now, if we're going to ask it to write implications, yeah, you can, but ultimately the implications are yours. You take responsibility. But this is the other thing: as a researcher, you're taking responsibility for everything, your output, the implications. You're taking responsibility for the lot. ChatGPT is an excellent research assistant that goes out there and handles a lot of data stuff, and very much in the same way that the quantitative analysis software that I use, and I will spruik that on our channel. It's called Q, or Displayer. It's an Australian invention, and it is the best data analysis package in the world by far, right? Anyone's mad not to use it, right? So for me, it's like having a package like that wrangles humongous amounts of data for me and gives me a crosstab. Do you see what I mean? It gives me a crosstab of demographics by consumption of a product. So it takes thousands and thousands and thousands of interviews and crunches them all up into this little table for me, so I can actually see what's going on in this data, because there's no way I can see what's going on in all this data without this package. ChatGPT is what I call, for us, the textual equivalent of that quant package. It looks at all the text data and makes sense of it for us, and it gives me a nice little crosstab, but it's a qualitative crosstab, right? Gives me a nice little synthesized qualitative crosstab of what's going on. And it is accurate. It is as accurate as the quant is, right? That's the scary part. So it's an enabling tool. It gets rid of some labor. It does get rid of labor from the research process, right? And it enables you to work at a higher level in terms of thinking about how you get data, how you analyze it, the implications from it. And not only that, and we'll talk about this later, how to provide data more efficiently to corporates, because the traditional buyers of market research are under a lot of financial pressure at the moment. Basically, the packaged goods industry, right, is under a lot of, they've been a big buyer of market research in the past, and they are under a lot of financial pressure. And it's a question of, okay, how can AI be used to create more efficient time and cost information that is useful to these corporates? Because that's the market. That's the market, and we have to, and this tool and this technology enables us to help adapt to that particular market, Nick. Look, we can blue sky it and be scared about it or whatever. Ultimately, I think the technology will get there. We don't know when. But the fact that we can already see it and talk about it means it will happen.